Yes, welcome back to the Magic Sponge podcast, a miracle cure for all your rugby league injury issues. I'm Brien. I'm the guy behind all the NRL Physio content you see on socials. My co-host, James, you're here. It is Sunday, mate. My blood pressure, my cholesterol, my everything was through the roof this afternoon, but nothing compared to yours as a big Bronx homer. I don't even deserve this intro, mate. So I'm going to throw straight to you, but I'm going to throw to you with two words, and they are go and dozer.
Couldn't have said it any better, Brian. I mean, what a game to start off with. I think everyone's chatting about, is it the best game you've ever seen? Like, the dust hasn't really settled, and it probably is. Like, let's just go straight to it and just act off emotion rather than think logically. It probably was the best game ever. Like, just the sequence. Like, I'm going to ramble on a bit here, Brian, but we had the sin bins, and I'm all for Huddy Young doing that. That is good shithousery. I'm a big fan of that. And to Hudson Young's credit, he nearly won the game for the Raiders to get the reaction from Reece Walsh. That's good footy. Like, that was clever. Just needed him to be in the bin for 5 more minutes, and he probably would have got him home. But I'm all for that by Huddy Young. If people sit here and say, "Oh, Huddy Young, what a grub," blah blah, that's good. That's good. Well done. You got away with it. Was he hardly done by to get himself sin bin? Probably, but still, the result was probably a net benefit for the Raiders. So Walsh is in the bin. Broncos are within 6. They're pressing. KO Weeks gets it, goes 90 meters untouched. Unbelievable. So then the score, where we're at, 24-12. Then Carrigan shoots out. He gets sin bin. That's a fair call. Like, I don't think anyone's got any pushback for that. Then Ethan Strange scores after back-to-back line breaks from the Raiders, and the Raiders are flying. Like, there's, 2 in the bin for the Bronx. Raiders got 1 in the bin. What is it there? 28-12. So then Walsh and Young come back on at minute I got it down here, minute 62 or 63. Carrigan comes back in minute 65. Reece Walsh scores that solo try at minute 65. Then Karapani scores next. Then Reece Walsh hits a 40-20. Then the Shibasaki line break and try happens, and Walsh gets it to within 2. And then what we got is like those closing stage shenanigans where that 2-point field goal that hits the goddamn crossbar, I was nearly having a stroke in my chair. I was nearly jumping out of it, and then I nearly got paralyzed from the blood pressure. And then we sort of had to scramble to golden point or to extra time. We had the Hosking get put on report for running through Reece Walsh's leg. That apparently is a penalty 10 meters out in front. I didn't even know that was a rule. When I heard that, I couldn't have been more excited. I was like, oh my God, we got 1 from 45 to tie it. And then they're like, nah, 10 meters in front. And I was like, you beaut, it's going extra time. Actually, I didn't even know it was extra time. I thought it was golden point. So then we got 5 minutes each way there. That's a scramble. That's a shootout. And we get to golden point. And then Hunty, of all people, steps up and just gets his field goal to bounce in off the post. You can't quite tell if it's in there or not. The boys are up and about. What on earth happened in that game? It was the wildest game of footy I've ever seen. And I think we said it the other week, Brian, like Reece Walsh is just on this heater, like no other player that we've seen in a hot minute. It's getting into those Jared Hayne, Benny Barber sort of like eras or episodes where he just did the unthinkable today to get those boys back in the game when they just shouldn't have been in it. They really shouldn't have been. It was just wild, wild, wild. As a neutral, Brian, how did you go? Like, you probably enjoyed it more than me. I was stressed and watching it behind like cracks in my hands over my face at times. Like, footy, how good is it? Like, let's just leave it there. But as a neutral, you must have been frothing it as well. Like, I'm assuming you were soaked too. Like,
Oh,
you had to have been as a footy fan. You had
mate, my wife is a big Bronx fan, as you know, and the Bronx are famously my girls' second team, so they were like getting up and around it as well. And like, yeah, you just cannot, you couldn't pass up the emotion of the game. Like, it was just, you couldn't script it. I think you're saying like the best game of all time. I think the most eventful game of all time is a pretty easy one, right? Like, the game was won by the Raiders twice, effectively. Like, it was the full time was blown, then the try was blown, but then they were both reversed. And yeah, as you say, like, we spoke about it for 20 minutes before coming on air here. And right before we come on, we're like, oh, and the 2-point field goal hitting the crossbar. We hadn't even talked it. Like, just so much. I think my takeaways from it, I've got 2 main ones. I've probably got heaps. We could do a whole pod, but number one, the fact that a missed field goal getting clobbered in the legs is 10 meters out. I said to you, my take is that if I'm down by 2 and I'm 60 meters out with 10 seconds to go, I'm waiting until guys are right on top of me and I'm having a snap and hoping that they get me in the legs. And then I get a 50-meter march upfield for the 10-meter out, because I wonder the bounds of that rule. It's like, does the referee have to say that it was a legitimate shot, that you had a chance? You could say, had the wind at my back, sir, was gonna hit it from 60. So yeah, I find that one, I found that quite amusing. Sorry, Raiders fans. But the other one is the Reece Walsh thing, mate. Like, he's going that well. Like, I just think there's not a question. Like, I think Reynolds and Mam obviously come back in if they're fit. But I just think the game plan, like when Reynolds and Mam were fit before, Walsh just wasn't getting enough good ball. Like, or wasn't in charge of the team enough. He needs to be in charge. Like, while he's on a heater like this, like when he's bad and he, headbutting dudes and whatever. But when he's like this, you just need to give him the keys and just go, mate. So Reynolds just needs to play backseat to Reece Walsh, I reckon, for the rest of the season, is my take. I'm sure we'll get into the Bronx a little bit later, mate. We could go, mate, I could talk about that game for, Jesus Christ. I think the guys in, on shows like Bloke in a Bar and those kind of things, they'll still hit like 4 or 5 hours.
It'll be 8 hours, genuinely. It was that good a game. Like, my goodness. And I think to your point about Reece Walsh, he's almost that meme where he's like, I'm the captain now, and he's eyeballing the rest of the Broncos and Madge Maguire. I think the other thing with this, Brian, just before we launch into other stuff, is like, the Broncos lost Mam and Walsh in the same play in that game, and all Madge Maguire does is get these boys winning footy. From that point onwards, they haven't dropped a game since that time. Like, good on Madge. Like, fair play to him, because, the old boys are not kind to you up in Brisbane if things aren't going well. But now things are going good. It's awfully quiet on the, we don't rate Madge front, and, he's a New South Wales bloke front. He's done a good job, Ryan, and I think this is a credit to him more than anyone else. He's got this team humming along, and that's a feel good factor sort of type win for him as well. That deserves to be said.
And now I might be remembering this wrong, but one thing I do want to throw to you, because I think you'd remember better than me, but because the Finns weren't in the comp when we were like in around college, into our early 20s, right? So the Bronx were the team that I watched the most for sure. I feel like Ben Hunt was that shit at drop goals, because it was like always Hunt and Milf, and neither of them were good at drop goals. So it just always, like, Milf was a bit less shit. So they always just went to Milf, and he wasn't great. And that was a source of frustration for me. So I feel like it's a great full circle moment, not only for Benny Hunt to have a great moment in the finals in Bronx colours, but to hit a fieldy from that far out when it's not something that he's typically been good at. That gave me some joy for Hunty for sure.
Yeah, it's a good throwback. Oh, God, it's so long ago he was there, sort of like the 7 and off the bench role for the Bronx. But I think you're right. I think he wasn't a noted field goal kicker as he was coming through there. It always went to Milford for those big plays for some reason. And I think Tony Milford at the time was just a freak show. So he was just getting it done anyway. But I think you're right. I think that's a pretty good call there, Brian. But, I will say, like, when he got that field goal over, it did remind me of Cam Smith saying, "Go Dozer. Go Dozer." And I was a little bit disappointed I didn't hear that on the Nines com today, because that would have really been icing on the cake type stuff, Nirvana territory for me if that happened.
Oh, I was on KO, and I didn't know. But oh man, if he did, he should have done a go dozer. That would
Should have.
Yeah,
He missed opportunity massively. Cam Smith would be punching himself tonight that he missed that opportunity. Genuinely.
Oh, because I was yelling it from my lounge room. I can tell you that for free. So Cam, pick your act up. All right, guys. You know why you're here. We've rambled on about the Bronx game for long enough. There's actually some big injuries this week. I thought it was going to be a pretty quiet week, but apart from outside the Dogs, but there's a lot going on. A lot of finals implications. So let's get straight into the injury wrap for this week, which is brought to you by Pain Pod, drug-free pain relief anyone can use.
I don't know exactly what he's done. I would have thought it was an ankle, but I'm just guessing.
He shouldn't be out for a long period of time. I'm no doctor. We have to wait for the scans, obviously, but that'd be more positive than negative.
Injury carnage and injury wrap-up, Brian, but how good is rugby league? HIAs to start with. So we've only got one name tonight, and Joe Chan is the only name on the list here tonight, Brian. So Obviously, the Storm get the week off, but Joe will be in the protocols as it stands, won't he?
Yeah, so no extensive history for Joe Chan that I'm aware of. He did have that pretty bad split lip, the Joker style kind of thing. So look, not really any concerns with that. He'll get that stitched up, especially with the week off. So just mainly around if his concussion symptoms or if there's like a jaw fracture under the split, but there was no mention of that. And there's been no mention of that, we're now 48 hours post. So you would assume we would have heard something by now. It's Melbourne. They are a bit secretive, but so I think it's most he's got 14 days. Most are fit after that. So we'll wait and see on him.
Yeah, nice one. Storm versus Bulldogs was the first game on the slate we've got tonight, Brian. So a lot of names to get through. Stephen Crichton with that ankle or foot type injury. Viliame Kikau is the next one with an eye injury. Enari Tuala sounds like a tibia fracture there for Enari Tuala, so that's bad news. Toby Sexton with a sternum concern. Jethro Rinakama with an ankle injury. Then for the Storm, Cam Munster with an ankle injury, and same with Grant Anderson as well. A lot to get through here, Brian. Where do you want to start?
Mate, we'll knock over the twin ankles from the Storm, so Grant Anderson and Cam Munster. I think Munster's okay. They were both pretty similar mechanisms, that kind of, what most people consider accidental hip drops, even though all hip drops are accidental. I don't think anybody purposely goes out there to hip drop anyone. But once again, not talking about it from a charge standpoint, just from a mechanics standpoint. From a mechanics standpoint, they are hip drop tackles, right? Because they lose their feet, they land. Yeah, it's an accident, whatever you want to call it. But for purposes of what we're talking about, it's a hip drop mechanism because they end up, increasing risk for like syndesmosis, medial ankle kind of sprains, that kind of thing. So both of them had that. Cam Munster, I think, escaped the worst of it from what I saw. So hopefully he should be sweet. Grant Anderson is in a moon boot as of this evening. So that's one where potentially there's a little bit more to it. As we've spoken about in the past, there have been syndesmosis injuries where guys have finished out the game and then, found out they needed surgery or found out something more significant. So just the fact that he finished out the game doesn't automatically mean he's in the clear. So, we'll wait to hear on him, but certainly some doubt, even with the week off for Grant Anderson. Rinakama from the Dogs, no updates on his ankle scans yet. Enari Tuala, mate, that was so strange because it kind of happened. We all saw it was like off screen. He was that far off screen, non-contact. And then they said it was a calf. And I'm thinking like, is it an Achilles? Like, he's pushed off and gone down in a sack. Like he wasn't doing real well. But then it came out today that it was a tibia fracture. So I went back and checked the mechanism. Obviously a tibia fracture is not going to happen non-contact. It very rarely is. You go back about 45 seconds before that non-contact and he was involved in a tackle where the Storm player's knee just ended up landing like on his leg as it was on the ground. So I'd say it's more like that contact mechanism. Then he's played through and then he's gone to push off into like a sprint and it's just gone on him. So he's obviously out for the season. No concerns for next year. Though Toby Sexton's getting scans on a sternum issue per our good friend Phil Gould, who we'll talk about a fair bit with these next few guys. Has a bruised SC joint, which is the joint, not the AC joint down the shoulder end of the collarbone. It's the sternum end of the collarbone, the sternoclavicular joint. So bruised, he's getting another scan tomorrow to see if there's a fracture. I think it'd have to be a pretty significant fracture for him to miss time. Like they're probably, usually even if there is a small fracture there, they're just going to needle up. It's mainly a pain tolerance issue. Super painful, but still mainly a pain tolerance issue. So playing with, a chest guard, local anesthetic injections, those kind of things, just a risk of aggravation moving forward. But I think unless something major comes out tomorrow, he should be okay to play, albeit not at 100%. Mate, Billy Kicks, there's a lot. Gus, he's saying that Kikau is refusing to get a scan because he doesn't want to know if his eye is fractured. That's a real interesting one because, with eye socket fractures, obviously there's risk for vision with certain fractures and those kind of things. I would say if he truly is, Gus said that on the telecast, but then was quoted in an article today saying Kikau has gotten or is getting scans on the fracture. So I would say they are getting scans on it, but as we've seen with Keon Koloamatangi, if the fracture is in the right spot, and usually it's in the, so if you pretend that the eye socket is like a cube or a square, if you're at the bottom end of the eye or the inner side, so the nose side of the eye socket, if you have fracture in there, it's not causing like a change in position of the eye. So the eye isn't sitting down in the eye socket or anything like that. There's no double vision. We can see guys play through them. And we've seen Koloamatangi do that. And the Bulldogs think that Kikau has done this since round 27. So the game against the Sharks, they think he initially fractured it there. And then he copped another knock to it, obviously on the weekend, the exact same spot. And it swelled up again. So yeah, I mean, look, off the back of everything that I'm hearing, I think he's going to play next week. From what Gus is saying there, is there risk? Look, like I spoke to Watkins, our orofacial surgeon expert, and the Koloamatangi one, and he kind of described it as, if it is that floor or medial wall of the eye socket, it'd have to be a really significant blow, almost a blow enough to kind of cause another fracture, to cause any vision permanent issues, those kind of things. So yeah, sounds like he could be in the clear. Stephen Crichton has a low to moderate grade syndesmosis injury and a first is it a meta? I've got to get this one right because I don't. It's not the Liz Frank, I think, is what they were saying. So effectively, it's the Liz Frank is the second metatarsal involved, whereas this is the first metatarsal. But I can't remember if it's a metatarso-phalangeal joint. I can't remember. I'm not going to look it up live on the pod. But effectively, he hasn't injured right where the Liz Frank is. He's injured somewhere in the foot, not quite there. So obviously, Liz Frank, we hear about that a lot. And it's if it was that, he would be in all sorts to play, but obviously this one must be at a more favorable point in the midfoot. So like the question becomes like, can he come right for say a prelim? He's already been ruled out for next week. I think the syndesmosis injury is the hardest one to overcome there. Yes, it's a midfoot injury, but it's not specifically that second met, which is the hardest, the hardest to kind of overcome and where a lot of your force is transmitted through. The syndesmosis injury, every time you put weight down on that, it splays apart or separates your two shin bones, which causes a lot of irritation to the syndesmosis. So syndesmosis injuries are really tough to come back from because you cannot strap them very well. It's so hard to strap the ankle and take away the pain. And that's why they're really tough to accelerate. Like a lateral ankle, and we'll talk about Payne Haas soon, you can strap that up really well. So I think he's a chance for a prelim if they make it, but I'd still put him at like maybe a 30-40% chance is if all those details are correct. Because when it's a Cindy, they're really, really hard to accelerate or be effective with. So even if he does play, once again, risk of like decreased performance, aggravation during the game, all of those kind of things. Mate, I've rambled on for a little bit with those guys, but I think this is the big one for this week. Any tidbits that I've missed there or anything you think I need to update?
No, I think I agree with you with Crichton's chances. I think they're definitely on the lower side, and it's less than a coin flip for sure. The one thing this was just an eyeball one, Brian. This is just me going a bit rogue. Was with Will Warbrick, was a sort of a head contact sort of mechanism later in the game. And I did notice him once he strode out for that intercept try, getting up, squinting the eyes, like, he wasn't keen to have people in and around his head. There hasn't been any chatter about Will Warbrick in the game. I don't think he had to go for a HIA at the time of that tackle. But I just wonder, given his fairly complicated history, if that's a name we might need to keep an eye on over the next few weeks. It was just one I was looking at and I was like, it was a bit heart and mouth for me, just given what we know about his journey this year from his recovery from concussion. Was it round 3 or 4, I think, was his initial concussion. And yeah, there was just a few times where I saw him sort of like, squinting the eyes, like didn't look like he was comfortable. were we dealing with, some concussive symptoms there or not? I don't know. It was just me speculating, mate. Did you notice anything just to the naked eye as well? Or
No, that's a really good point. And I think the thing with him is that both of his concussion issues previously this year have been delayed concussion symptoms. So, it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. So really good point. I just pulled it up. So I wasn't sure, and this is just for the physio nerds out there. So it was the first tarsometatarsal joint, which is in the midfoot, so next to the Lisfranc joint complex. So if you're looking at your foot, in layman's terms, go halfway between the end of your toes and your heel, go all the way to the inner side. That's kind of where he sprained. I just couldn't remember whether it was that or the metatarsophalangeal joint, which is like turf toe, that kind of thing. So it's not turf toe. It's a midfoot sprain, but not technically the Lisfranc joint complex, to be specific. And that's our good friend Gus coming with the anatomy, which is fantastic.
we need to give Gus an honorary doctorate in physio, I reckon. We need to get a university onto him to give him some physio degrees there, don't we?
Oh, actually, I will mention
Yeah.
to the other guy, which I forgot to put in the run sheet. Sorry, I'll add him in for the YouTube comments. Is our boy Jacob Kiraz was clutching at his
Oh,
foot
yeah, good call. Yeah,
throughout
sorry.
the game. Yeah, like throughout the game, he did not look 100%. So it just shows you, and I think a lot of these guys we're going to talk about, and we're going to be like, look, you probably see a lot of them come back early, but they're just not going to be at 100%. They're going to be a high risk of aggravation. Kiraz still played well, but he just was hampered the entire game. So you don't know, how much it was hampering him. Was it the difference between him making a line break that he would have made fully healthy but didn't make this time around? It's all semantics and hypotheticals and those kind of things. But I think at this time of the year, a lot of guys are playing through pretty crazy shit and just not playing at 100%. And Kiraz was definitely one of those. I think there was some reports he was back in a boot after the game to try and offload it. He'll probably be back again next week, needled up, strapped up. So just another guy to keep an eye on, and something that and I'm sure you noticed during the game as well.
Yeah, definitely. That was a really good call, mate. He still plundered out 90-odd Supercoach points, didn't he, old Jacob Kiraz? He was still good from that point of view, but noticeably hampered, but he is, gutting it out and playing through it. Then the Bulldogs need him to next week again when they come up against the Panthers. Speaking of the Panthers, so Warriors vs Panthers was the next game here. Nathan Cleary with a leg concern. Mitch Kenny was ruled out pre-game with a hamstring injury. So that's one that they definitely need to keep an eye on for the Penrith Panthers, isn't it? They can ill afford injuries at this time of year, Brian, when they've got to win out.
Made very rare that I get info pretty much directly from inside the Penrith walls, but I was lucky to be able to about Mitch Kenny this week. Apparently he was they were like, oh, we're saving him for next week. It's kind of their approach, which I'm like, that is ballsy, right? Like we're in an elimination final, but yeah, we're just a little bit doubtful on Kenny, so we'll just save him for next week. So I'm like, oh man, what the confidence that it takes. To be fair, the only game, and no slight to the Warriors, my team got booted out long ago. Your team's better than mine, but that was the only game I was really confident in tipping this week. Apparently quite minor for Kenny, so he should be okay. And then Nathan Cleary, he just didn't take the last 2 goal kicks. But I don't know if anybody else noticed, but I certainly noticed he copped a direct blow to his thigh/hip. And was pretty hampered by it for the last, however, I think it was 15, 20 minutes or something like that. Something is just a cork. So he should be sweet for next week.
Good summary there, Brian. So they get the Bulldogs next Sunday. So even better for Nathan Cleary getting the extra day up his sleeve with maybe a cork type mechanism there. Sharks vs Roosters the next one. Infection watch again, Brian. Tom Hazelton listed here from the Sharks. We need Lynx Africa under the Christmas trees this off-season for the boys, don't we? Or we need Lynx Africa to sponsor this dear podcast would be my ultimate. I mean, if you told 15-year-old me that Lynx Africa could be sniffing around, take me now, honestly.
Mate, we've had Bundy, which is both of yours and my adult dream partners for the pod. But I think Lynx Africa, if you go back and tell 13, 14, 15-year-old Brien that I'd have them on as a sponsor. Probably them and Slazenger, because I used to love Slazenger when I used to play tennis. So I was a big at tennis and cricket. where the old V800, we're scoring tons of that, like good times. So they're probably my two. But yeah, shout out Lynx Africa. Still, they haven't hit me up in the DMs, but if they want to, come on down. Yeah, the knee infection, he's in hospital. The big thing here is it's like, is it just like a surface infection that he needs IV antibiotics for, or is it something that's gotten into the knee joint and needs like a clean out surgery for? Because if it's that, then he's probably in doubt for next week. But if it's just IV antibiotics and just like deconditioning, he's too sick to play, then he's a good chance of next week. But we just don't get that type of information, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a good one for people playing at home. Just be aware if people have like infection inside something, infection has a funny way of finding where there's hardware in your body. So if you have like a joint replacement or an ACL surgery, or got screws in place or pin and plates in place, once infection tracks into there or finds its way in and around there, it's very hard to treat just with antibiotic coverage. So oftentimes they do need to, open things up and surgically wash it out. So they need to be a bit more thorough with what they do to clear infection that way. So fingers crossed for Tom Hazelton, it's not that deep and it's just a superficial thing and he's right fairly quickly. Raiders vs Broncos game, we've talked about that for a long time, Brian. I'm going to be struggling to get to bed tonight about that. But Brendan Piakura is a big concern here with a cheekbone injury. Was reported as a fracture on the comms there by Channel 9, I believe. Then Payne Haas, he had an interesting mechanism of injury, got taped up in the game for that left ankle. What are we thinking there for the Broncos brigade as it stands at the moment? They've got the week off, I suppose, which is one thing up their sleeve. But what do you think? Should we be more concerned for these guys?
Yeah, I think Madge said post-match for Piakura, potentially a depressed cheekbone fracture. So obviously that means like a bit of a divot there. So yeah, not ideal news. The one thing is sometimes there are like surgeries where they can stabilize it pretty well and get an accelerated return. So we've seen guys come back kind of as quick as a 3-week return to play. So a 3-week return to play, once again, a reminder, is a player missing 2 weeks and returning on the 3rd week. So, yeah, I mean, tough to accelerate that kind of thing quicker than that, but it's finals. So you just, I mean, yeah, I don't count anything out when it's only a week or two here or there. Like, we'll talk about Jerome Hughes in a minute, who's, dealing with an injury that's usually 6 to 8 weeks, and he's going to try and come back in 3. So, yeah, I'm not writing off many things at this point of the year. So he's a chance for the prelim, but yeah, still on the doubtful side of a chance. Payne Haas, I'm a lot more confident about. It was that lateral ankle sprain mechanism. It did have kind of that, I guess, that Kiraz kind of gist to it, where it seemed to be more like midfoot as well than just pure ankle. So potentially he's got like a bit of midfoot issues there. I mean, you even tossed up pre-show a potential 5th like metatarsal fracture, which is basically your 5th toe, kind of the outside of the foot. The way I put it is, mate, there's 2 games to go in the season. Like we've seen Dylan Edwards play through a 2nd metatarsal fracture for I think 3 games he played through in a premiership winning side. I just think the midfoot, even any fractures through there, it would not surprise me if they just needle it up, tape it up, really, really solid, and just hope to get him through it. I just would, no matter what we hear, it could absolutely be one of those situations where they say, yeah, Payne's fine, and he's actually got something underlying that they're just going to play him through over the next few weeks. But yeah, I'm still leaning towards more just a really painful lateral ankle sprain with potentially some midfoot involvement, which 2 weeks is a long time for something like that. So I'm pretty confident he should be good to go. How are you feeling about both of those guys? I mean, as important as Payne Haas is to your teammate, Piakura, those edge back rowers, oh boy, you probably want him back pretty importantly too.
Yeah, we definitely need them both at this time of year. It's getting squeezy, especially on the edge, Brian. We've said it all year. It's their 1 weak spot with very little depth in the top 30. So that's bad news if he's missing as well. I think to your point, Payne will be right. Like he played 74 minutes today. Like that was a pretty insane effort for him to get through that much work. So I think with 2 weeks, we know what sort of a rehab candidate he is. He always gets through these things. Interesting for Broncos watch as well. Xavier Wilson's probably going to be touch and go for the prelim from his arm fracture. We don't have too much information to go off Adam Reynolds or Ezra Mam or Selwyn Cobbo either. It sounds like we're like on the, I guess on the casualty ward, we've got Selwyn and Ezra down from their hamstring injuries as next season, whereas Adam Reynolds down for the finals. It would be 7 weeks between their injury and the next game in the prelim. So it might be one of those ones where there might be an Ezra, there might be an Adam Reynolds, there might be even a Selwyn in the top 17, come that time. And Brian, I'm going to put this out there as a smoky that if no one else is good at edge, can we get Cobbo in at number 11 or number 12? Like it probably isn't as bad an idea as what we're currently trotting out there, is it?
100%, mate. I think we can. I'll steal one of the questions from the question section. So it was with the Broncos having the week off. Now will Reynolds, Mam, Cobbo be fit? Do you think? How do you think they'll line up? So we'll talk about it now because we're kind of halfway there anyway. Look, I think by the sounds of things, I think Reynolds will be sweet because he was going pretty well. Kind of, even with an aggravation, he was at least some chance for this week, and then they kind of made the call. So I think he'll be okay. It sounds like Mam too. Cobbo, there's been less info on, unfortunately. We're recording now before the charge sheet has come out, but I'm assuming Walsh isn't going to be suspended for that headbutt with the kind of precedent set with other headbutts. Someone on Twitter posted, because that's about as authoritative as the process can be. I would trust someone on Twitter as much as I would the match review committee at this point in time, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I think Reynolds, Mam will be good. Cobbo, I'm less confident on. I'll throw to you. How would you line them up? Let's say Reynolds and Mam are fit. What are you doing? Is Hunty not okay? I'll put it this way, because I think Carrigan is probably going to get a week. That's kind of my gut call. Yep. So let's play a situation where Carrigan is gone. We both really enjoyed how Tyson Smoothie played today at 13. How are you as the Bronx fan? How are you lining them up if Reynolds, Mam, let's say not Cobbo and not Piakura? Yeah, how are you putting them all in there?
Yes, geez, this is a good question. Willison probably comes into consideration massively on that edge. I think that's the most logical decision. Where it gets vibey is at the 6 and 7 spot because, it's been clicking for them. So do you really want to make changes there? And I still think that Mam is a much better upgrade over Billy Walters. I know Billy played good today. I understand that, but I still think Ezra and Reese have that click, and I think that's one that could really, really work. And then Reynolds, I guess, is he kind of the odd man out once it gets to that stage? Because you play Billy at 14, you probably need some middle minutes out of other people. It might be Pakes at 9, Billy at 14, Hunt at 7, Mam at 6, and maybe Wilson on that edge. And maybe Reynolds doesn't see the field. I don't know. It's a really tricky question because he's the skipper of the team. But they haven't lost a game without him. So does the hot hand win out here? I don't know. It's a really good question. And honestly, if it gets to the point where it's like, all right, well, Reynolds and Mam are in and Hunt's on the bench or he's starting at 9, I'm still okay with it. I still think there's a way that the Broncos can make this work because they're going to have to get 13 minutes out of either Billy Walters or get them out of Ben Hunt, I would say, especially if Carrigan's missing. So you've got to find some way of getting good 13 minutes, whether that's Tyson Smoothie. I don't know. That's probably the best way to sort of sum it up there. That's probably it from me, Brian. Any other things you want to touch on in that game, or we can just move on to the other team?
I would not be upset at minutes at 13 from Hunt or Smoothie. I just think the way Hunt's done it at Origin, we see how that works. I wouldn't want him to play 60 minutes there, but if you told me he had to play 40 minutes there, especially in around the middle of the game from minute 20 to minute 60 or something like that, I'm not upset at that at all.
Yeah, and I think today they really looked good when Smoothie was moving the ball laterally and they were getting it to their outside backs quickly. That was really something that they were lacking for bits and pieces in this game. But when Smoothie was at 13, it seemed to click really nicely today. But, maybe they just got on a heater and that's just how footy goes sometimes. Other injuries to wrap up here, Brian, from other NRL teams. So we've got Hamison Tabuai Fidow. I think he's been graded as a grade 3 MCL injury. So that's bad news for Hammer. He'll miss the off-season games there. Tom Trbojevic has been listed as a knee concern, friend of the show. Carter Gordon here with a leg injury there, Brian. I think he was only 1 or 2 games back for Carter Gordon this year, which is wild after his really complex journey after his dural leak there in his spine. Next one is Loko Pasifika Tonga. He was a knee concern, and then a couple of medical retirements here in Ben Lovett and Joshua Alloway. So a lot to get through there outside of the games this week, Brian. Who do you want to talk to in more depth?
Yeah, mate, just a shout out to the medical retirement boys. Especially Ben Lovett, mate. Like we've been had that many questions asked about him over the time, struggling back from not only I found out during the week after I did my post, not only like a patella tendon fracture, not only a patella tendon rupture, but he had a Pappenhausen fracture. So he tore he tore his patella tendon and had like massive like a jigsaw fracturing through his patella. So lots of like cartilage like that seems to be the recurring, issues is that cartilage irritation, cartilage degeneration. And I think it just shines a light on how good Paps's return has been and how uncertain that was, because you've got a guy like Ben Lovett who just hasn't been able to get back to the loading that he wants to do. So, yeah, just thoughts go out to him. Apparently, day-to-day life is still okay, which is, probably the most important thing. Great to hear. But, thoughts go out to both of those guys. You never like to see anyone forced into early retirement. Even Josh Alloway, he's only 29. I looked that up. I felt like he was pretty young. So 29, you've still got a good, as a front row, 4 to 5 years left in you there. So, really disappointing there. Hammer, MCL grade 3, yeah, he's gone, but no concerns for next year, preseason. Tom Turbo with the knee concern, that just sounds like a bit of a G up. I think he's mainly just managing it to have a good, off season for Manly. Carter Gordon suffered a leg injury in Cup today playing for the Jets. So it looked like a direct contact mechanism. He kind of got slung around in a tackle and whacked into the legs of another player with his legs out the back. Hopefully just a contusion, but potentially you're looking at like a fibula fracture or something like that, but still would be fine for next year. Pasifika Tonga is probably the most concerning there. He suffered an injury in Cup today playing for the Dragons, and mate, it was a pretty grotesque mechanism. Like he was kind of put in like a splits position, but his right knee seemed to cop most of it. So like MCL plus, like potentially ACL. But like a bit of concern there for one of the Dragons up and comers, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll give you a bit of inside scoop on the Finns as well, Brian, because there was a question of, does Trey Fuller drop back to the Dolphins because he is eligible to go back there? And the guy who's playing fullback who I work with, he said, no, I'm getting the fullback spot this week because Trey did his ACL last year in one of these prelim or finals games. And they said, no, we don't want Trey playing Cup because we want him for next season. So that might be a little bit of an inside scoop into, short king season there with Trey Fuller coming up. And I've heard good word about Carl Oluwapu as well, playing between 20 and 30 minutes in the middle in primarily like a bulked up 13 role. So that's really cool to hear as well. The Finns got through as well, Brian. They're in the prelims. So they got to win. They got to win up in Townsville this weekend. So that's good news for the Redcliffe Dolphins. So I don't know who they come up against next week. I'm not too sure if they play. Like Norths came second, and who came first? It was Burley came first. So I think they might have to play Burley next week, the Finns. So they've got to go on the road.
Doesn't really matter, mate. Whoever they've got, it's
they'll
gonna
get
be,
it done.
yeah, it's gonna be Carl, my boy Carl in the side now. Like what more could you need?
Well, did you know that the grand final is definitely locked into Dolphin Oval as well, no matter who makes it? So
is it like that is just if it gets moved from there ever, just don't even talk to me because
mate, sunny days at Dolphin Oval. There's nothing better.
Cup grand final day. I don't think you understand how much that like ruled my childhood was Q Cup grand final day because the Dolphins were there every second year or something.
Oh, it wasn't every second year, mate. It was every year. It was them and Burley pretty much every year for like 10 years. What a time though. So yeah, up the Finns. While we mention that here. Lastly, we'll talk injury-wise, Brian. Oh, so don't even start me on Aaron Barber. That just gets me hot and heavy. But we'll talk NRLW next. Sorry, just to wrap up the injuries. Got a few big names on the list here. So Taryn Aiken from the Roosters definitely looked like an ACL injury. I think that's been confirmed. From the Roosters as well, Jamie Frezard with an ankle concern, which is bad luck considering she only came back from the elbow dislocation not too long ago. Amber Hall with a calf concern. Jess Surgis from the Roosters as well with a back concern. Riverlee Allo with a shoulder or pec injury. Then we've got Shante Kiria Ratu with a knee concern and Patricia Maliepo with a hamstring injury. That was last week. Brian, we've got a lot to get through for the W. Pretty yuck mechanisms in amongst there as well. So fingers crossed that the girls aren't missing too much time for sure.
Yeah, I just Patricia Maliepo with her hamstring issue. We just missed that last week, but talk about yuck mechanism, stretch mechanism. She was
yuck.
it reminded me of the Latrell Mitchell one from a couple of years ago where he kind of got folded. She got folded as well. So I'm hoping it's not a surgical case and she's okay. But yeah, just wanted to mention her and send best wishes. Hopefully she's okay. The notable ones there, Riverlee Arlo looked like kind of a pec shoulder dislocation mechanism. So I don't think we'll see her again this season. Jess Surgis was dealing with an ongoing back issue that she carried into the game. They think she should be fine, but Amber Hall, apparently the calf issue sounds pretty bad. So potentially season over for her. Fressard with the ankle. She got hip dropped and looked like a syndesmosis type mechanism. So once again, even though she played on after it, I think she eventually succumbed to it though. No guarantees that her season isn't over too. And then Taryn Aiken, it was just, obviously being on comms, they're like, it's a bit hard sometimes, but they just kept focusing on the, need a knee contact. But there was just that massive non-contact change of direction, inward collapse, shift of the tibia, the shin bone. It just, it ticked all the boxes of not a nice one. Unfortunately, that was the case. So a big worry for her is that we're in September now, especially for the W girls and for females with their higher risk of ACL injury. So 2 to 8 times more likely female athletes are than male athletes for different, training, biological reasons, all that kind of thing. Being in September, there's a real chance that she doesn't come back next year. I think we've had a couple of girls this season in Jada Taylor and China Plata. They've both come back at just a bit under 12 months, I think, from memory. So hopefully that can be the same for Taryn. But big blow for Queensland, mate. She won't be there next year for Origin. So we're going to have to, maybe Ali Brigg comes out of retirement to play halfback. Maybe she does an Alfie and she's back.
Yeah,
Who
now
knows?
we're talking. Yeah, now we're talking Alfie Langer type stuff for Ali Brigg. That'd be epic. Nice wrap up, Brian. We've done well to get through all that. A lot of chat. We're going to go into the questions. Thanks again for submitting these to the broadcast channel as usual. First question is, what are the chances of Jerome Hughes, Ryan Pappenhausen and Sean Bloor being back for the prelim final for the Storm?
Jerome has said that the medical staff are giving him a slim chance. I think I've said for a lot of these guys, this would usually be a 6+ week injury for Hughes. So can he physically do it? We said on the show, last week, yes, he can physically do it. It's just going to be at an increased risk of refracture, and it's going to be painful. So, and especially for a halfback who's throwing passes all the time, needs rotation in through the forearms, those kind of things. There is a risk that his function, even if it's okay going into the game with a few painkiller injections and those kind of things, it could go downhill pretty quickly. So, he's definitely a chance, but it's just going to be at a high risk. But risk versus reward at this time of the year. It's the reward is high, so guys are going to take more risk. Perhaps concussion, we just don't know. You'd hope with the extra 2 weeks he'll be okay. And then Sean Bloor, his ankle is not great. He's been dealing with this ankle issue for many, many weeks. He had a week off, I think, late in the regular season, and it just still hasn't come good. So yeah, he's one who I'm worried about. Obviously, the 2 weeks off will help, but if it's something in on the joint surface, it's tough to take that pain away. Weirdly enough, he and Hughes are probably on a similar level for me, even though Hughes is usually a 6+ week injury, because I can see a situation where both are playing in 2 weeks just as much as I can see them not so.
Seeing that there was no plaster cast on Jerome Hughes there, Brian, on the footage I could see on TV. Just was interesting from a physio point of view, because most of the time you see people that get fractures, they end up in plaster fairly quickly. But I haven't seen people accelerated without them. So it's just curious for me. Have you seen many people just go plasterless and get on with things ASAP?
Yeah, I assume potentially it's closer to the wrist than we thought, and maybe he's just in a splint of some sort, or something under there. I'm not quite sure, but I didn't see that personally, so that's it's very interesting.
For sure. Next question, Brian, was about Marcelo Montoya. Question is he out for the season? If he is, what do you think the Bulldogs side will shape up like next week?
I think there was some news that Montoya had a third opinion, I think, and now it's actually worse than they initially thought it was bad, then they thought it wasn't bad, now they think it's bad again. So, I think Bronson Cherry's back. I reckon Burton's going to go to the centres, is kind of my thought, if Rinakama is fit. They've also got Blake Wilson there, and he's very solid as well. So, I think they've got cover, and I think Burton looked good in the centres. They need a heart, Toby Sexton needs to be 7. Like, I know he kicked the ball out in the full, and there's criticism of that kind of thing, but they need an organising 7, I think, if they're going to win the comp. Billy, and in Billy we trust, mate. I think he said it today. He was just like, I'd bring Reed Marnie back in. I'd have what's his name, Hayward, either at 13 or off the bench, as your, that's when they look the best. They just have not looked the same side since they started playing around with things, and I don't understand it.
Also, Hayward's service is very good. Like he does deliver a crisp hill, and Reed Marnie is not noted for that, but Reed Marnie does give you a lot of the off the ball stuff. So I guess it's sort of a sum of the parts type prospect there as well. Question 3, Brian, we'll move on, is if you're the Penrith Panthers, would you rest Mitch Kenny and Brian To'o with their hamstring issues, given that Dogs are pretty undermanned as it stands before this Sunday game coming up?
No, I don't think you can rest. It sounds like they effectively rested Kenny this week. I think when you're talking elimination against a team that can get hot. I don't rest them. It would be my thoughts.
Yeah, fully agree with that, mate. Next question is, why ACL surgery is such a long recovery time compared to other surgery types?
Yeah, so like the ACL recovery time is the ligamentization. We've spoken about it in the past, where you're taking more often than not a tendon, so different cellular structure and makeup to a ligament. You're taking a tendon from somewhere else, be it hamstring, quad, patella, you're putting it in the knee, and it actually turns into a ligament, but that process takes time. It's called ligamentization. It's usually like 12 to 18 months is what a lot of the studies that I have read, probably not in the last 12 months. So apologies if it's changed in that time. But it's that takes time. And so like the full healing time is quite lengthy, and it's just an area that is so field sport heavy, right? Like field sport change of direction. It's not like say if you get a ligament repair, even in an elbow or something like that, like Tommy John surgery for pitches, which is like your medial elbow in baseball. It takes ages because so much force goes through the elbow in baseball. Not so much if you get Tommy John surgery in footy, it's not going to be a 12 to 18 month recovery like it is in baseball. So it's just very heavy field sport wise.
Nice one there, mate. Last question. This is a hypothetical. Would you rather be abstinent forever and have rugby league in your life, or have sex and no footy again? Which one are you taking, Brian, if you had a gun to your head?
Mate, I've got a good answer to this question, because I'm a red-blooded male as much as I'm sure you are, and many of our listeners are. I do a fair bit of men's and women's health physio as well. I'm trained in that, and I had a patient come in the other day who had seen this is a long way to answer this question, but I'm happy to do it.
That's good. I like it.
Yeah. So he had just seen his surgeon. and planning to get a prostectomy. So I was running him through pelvic floor stuff and all going well. And I said, "Oh, mate, how's your surgeon? Like, is he a good fella?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, he's all right. He was just really like shattered when I saw him." I was like, "Oh, why was he shattered?" And he said, he had 2 patients die on him that day. And I was like, "Oh shit." And I'm like, "Did that not concern you that he had 2 patients like die?" Like, I was assuming like in theater or something, like 2 patients had passed away. But no, it wasn't that. It was that 2 blokes had come in, and effectively the way the patient described it to me is there's one surgery type they have to do in these prostectomies. A lot of them are, very high tech now, and it's like laser, and, there's still some risks for, post surgery, some complications, but nothing too crazy. But when there are certain prostate issues, they have to do a surgery where it's like you cannot get an erection for the rest of your life. Like, you're done. You can't have sex again. And so the surgeon had told 2 patients in, like, say, weeks before that, said, "Look, we can save your life, and there's this surgery, but unfortunately you'll never be able to have sex again." And both of these patients just stood up, shook his hand, and said, "Yeah, thanks for letting me know," and just left, and did not have the surgery because they were like, "There's no way."
Really?
Yeah.
Holy
And
hell.
and then he found out on the same day that those 2 patients had passed away. And like, and as I said, I'm as red-blooded as anyone, but I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, these, and I was like, "How old were these guys?" And he's like, "Oh, like the doc said, like in their 60s and 70s." And I was like, "Mate, like, you are like, what are these guys doing?" So a long way to answer it is that rugby league is life. So I am not giving up life games. So yeah, I'll be abstinent because yeah, you can't be. That just rocked me. I was like, here I am getting frustrated as a physio when, like, my patients don't do their exercises or something and their back pain's a little bit worse. And this guy's like, "I've got a way to save your life, guys. Like, I can save your life." And they're like, "Nah, I want to keep rooting as a 70-year-old."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. Okay.
jeez.
Heck of a choice. Heck of a choice. Spend time with your loved ones or, like,
Yeah.
just get a few away. I'm like, there's a few options there, Brian, isn't there? It's not all or nothing. I think we think in all or nothings here a lot, but it's rugby league for sure, isn't it? Let's be honest. Like, as soon as Origin time rolls around, as soon as these games like this happen on the weekend, my God, like, imagine not being a footy fan. Riddle me that. Like, I'd rather be a virgin and a footy fan than not like not like footy. Seriously.
Especially 8 in a row,
Yeah.
mate. Like, come on.
Oh, of course. Yeah. What's that worth? I mean, what's that worth in terms of numbers? Like hundreds, maybe thousands. Who knows? New South Wales would never get it. They wouldn't understand.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Right, mate. Supercoach Corner. How'd you go in the final Supercoach, and what are you going to do next week?
So 856 this week, Brian. I don't know if that's good or not good because I've never done this
Saw a
format
few
before. But
900s, I think. I
was
think if
there?
you're in the
Okay.
900s, you're doing
You're
well.
doing well. Okay. Well, I'm not probably too bad then. Funnily enough, Brian, I thought and and about a lot of things, and then I was like, you know what happened in an invitational comp this year is Ryan took all the Broncos, so why don't I just take all the Broncos and captain them and vice captain them? And that's what I did. I went Haas as captain and Walsh as vice captain, so it worked out pretty well for me. So my setup was Grant, Haas, Isaiah Yeo, Nico, which is probably a bit of an oversight there. I went Munster, Toto, Teddy, and Walsh in the flex. So I guess for the week coming up, it looks like Penrith probably have the upper hand here. I don't know how many Penrith players you'll be able to squeeze into your team this week, whether it's 2 or 3, but I do like Dylan Edwards quite a lot. I think, Nathan Cleary is going to be nearly 100% owned. Is Isaiah Yeo due for a little attacking uptick there? Maybe, maybe not. I do think as well, the Raiders were good today, Brian. Like, I think there's value to be had, especially with the edge back roles there, whether you go maybe with a Huddy Young again, or where do you go with a Zach Hosking, I think would be a big point of difference. I don't mind the Raiders edge back row players this week, to be honest. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. God, it was a good weekend of footy, Brian. Like, final series, NFL season, it's always the best time of year. I've got to say, I had a little look at what flights cost to Sydney for the weekend of October 5th, because I'm just thinking that maybe we're going to make it. Maybe I need to just put some money aside if we do possibly make it, and move some patients around and move some plans around for that Sunday, October 5, because the Monday's off, isn't it? We got that Monday off. That's the long weekend. So might just be putting some money aside or counting the beans at the moment. Brian, how'd you go in SuperCoach?
So before I do that, I want to give you, and I'm pretty sure you know this hack already, and I'm sure plenty of people do, but if you want a hack for your flights, and if you don't want to throw all your eggs in the basket, is book, and I'm sure the airlines are onto it already, but book rewards flights with points, because to cancel them, it's only like an 8,000 point fee. So if you can find rewards flights and you've got 16,000 points spare, I mean, what's Qantas points? Who gives a shit? If you can book them and then the Broncos don't make it, you just cancel your flights, and say your flights cost 40,000 points, you'll get 32 back. So, you'll get 24 back, which, look, who cares? So yeah, that's my tip for you / any other Broncos fans is book now. Because if as soon as the Broncos, if they win the prelim, the price of those flights is just going to be absolutely cactus.
Probably $2,000 return, I reckon. Genuinely, like, I think it was like $1,500 when we went 10 years ago. Like,
and we were flying. It was cheaper. I remember it was cheaper for us to fly back into Goldie, and then we had booked a limo to bring us back from Goldie to Brisbane. Because it was cheaper. It was cheaper. Yeah. Like, come on now. I scored 790. I changed my team so many times, and then I just lost track. Somehow I ended up with Harry Grant as captain. Don't know how that happened. Did not plan for that at all. So I tried to go pod heavy. So I went my boy Sammy Walker, my other boy Paul Alamotti, and
you did the Panthers outside back thing again, Brian.
Yeah,
what
did
you learn this year?
I should have learned. I should have learned.
I would have slapped that into you. Genuinely, I would have.
It's happened again. It's happened again. And
how could this happen to me?
I know. And Aaron Clark as well. What happened to Aaron Clark? That's what I want to know. He scored like 40 points. He was off at the 25-minute mark and didn't come back on until about 15 to go. I was losing my mind. But the most unfortunate thing about this week is, like, it was the most missionary week in terms of you just had to pick the highest averaging guys from the season, and they all scored the highest points. It was like Marky Mark, Eli Katoa, Payne Haas, Huddy Young, Harry Grant, and then like Reece Walsh, Teddy, Nathan Cleary. I'm like, this is the worst. Like, give me some excitement. Like, they're just missionary socks on, lights off kind of deal, which I wasn't happy with. Next week, look, it's probably pretty stock standard again. The one that I don't mind as a smoky is Mulatalo on the left wing for the Sharkies, just because that Raiders right side defense today was getting absolutely torn to shreds by the Broncos. So yeah, that's just a matchup that I would not mind targeting.
The only other one is if Stephen Crichton misses, Casey McLean looks really attractive at the Panthers left centre spot. Like, that's a huge win if he doesn't luck back on Stephen Crichton. I've actually updated to 945, Brian. I've sort of sold myself about 100 short there. Sorry, so maybe I'm not too bad there on the old points this week.
You'll be up and about with that.
But there's your lesson is back the Broncos in the prelim. Get a C on someone, get a VC on Reece Walsh at least, and go hard in the Broncos, because that worked out very well for our good mate Riser this year in the Invitational. So I was like, you know what, work for Riser, I'll bloody do it myself.
Mate, Broncos Panthers, if that's what the prelim is gonna
sign me up for Suncorp. It's gonna be absolutely heaving.
Soaked. All right, guys, that is a wrap. If you like the pod, give us a review, recommend to a friend. This will be the last one for a little bit. If there's some injuries heading into the GF, we definitely won't do one next week. But then after the prelims, if there's some injuries, we might do a pod. If not, we'll just enjoy it, and maybe we'll do a live podcast from down in Sydney if the Broncos make it and we both head down for the pod. We'll see how we go. But thank you, James. I know it was a tough shift after what an afternoon it was. So now you can go back to reading like every media article on the internet about the Broncos win.
It's going to be so good, mate. I am going to struggle to sleep. I'll just set my lineups about 20 times in NFL fantasy, probably just to put my mind at ease. But yeah, up the Broncos. Seriously, what a game! What an awesome outcome for us. And I mean, commiserations to the Raiders, but also sucked in, seriously. Like, if that was me on the losing end of that, I wouldn't be feeling good at all. So, long may it rain, Brien. I'm going to just throw the arrogance up there as well.
Mate, it's a Huddy Young thing, right? Like I was
Yeah.
the fact he got sin bin,
100%.
what the hell? Like, you should be able to lip anyone on the field and not, as long as it's not, doesn't step over the line in terms of what you're saying, but you should be able to go up to someone and give them a gobful anytime. Like, not send to the sick. Come on. Can't turn it up. And so you should be able to give anyone a gobful now, James. So I'm all about
This is
gobfuls.
freedom of speech, baby.
I'm a big gobful guy, mate. Big gobful guy.
Of course.
Love it. All right. And up the mighty, actually, because they're doing well, up the mighty, Redcliffe Dolphins.